And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Hi there, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska Marine Weather Outlook on this Sunday, November 24th, 2024. We start out with the sea ice. I was talking with one of the ice analysts and forecasters, and he was saying temperatures have averaged above normal in the Bering Sea, so it's been slower for the ice to redevelop. Plus, we had a couple of strong storms with high winds come through the area that break things up. But we do anticipate with some colder air that's going to work its way southward along the west coast that this area of open water in the lower Chukchi Sea and Bering Strait should start to fill in with ice as we go through the upcoming Thanksgiving Day week. And looking at where the weather map is late tonight into Monday morning, we've had a low cross. Norton Sound will be pushing inland up the middle Yukon Valley. Areas of moderate to locally heavy snow around this system. There are a number of winter weather advisories, even a winter storm warning, the southwest slope of the Brooks Range to Haisley in that area of the middle Yukon Valley. Heading eastward, the snow will just overspread Fairbanks. Light to moderate snow could add up to several inches here as we go through Monday into early Tuesday. This secondary low is going to gradually head southeastward just off of the Panhandle coast. It will have some periods of light to occasionally moderate snow, but it's going to add up because two-day snowfall totals over areas of the Panhandle could be several inches as well. And as we go into Monday afternoon, the system here that's crossed in from the Bering continues to work its way eastward with periods of light to occasionally moderate snow through the central eastern interior, even down into the Susitna, Matsu valleys. Could pick up several inches of snow, and then the snow will be expanding from the northeastern Gulf Coast around Yakutat into the northern Panhandle by Monday evening and Monday night. And on Tuesday, we expect the inner channels where the cold air is a little more entrenched and along the intercoastal mountains, the snow to continue. So it'll be a prolonged period of snowfall across the Panhandle, especially late Monday night through Tuesday into early Wednesday morning. Meanwhile, high pressure is going to build over the northern mainland, over the North Slope and Brooks Range. This is what's going to allow clearer skies and colder temperatures to set over much of the mainland by the time we get to midweek, Wednesday, Thursday on Thanksgiving, and into Friday and Saturday. So that's why this area of the mainland is looking for temperatures to average below normal in this time period. And looking at winds on Monday, southeast winds 5 to 10 knots variable, and especially the south end around Ketchikan, Metlakatla. For the outer coast, south winds will tend to go southeast to easterly as you get up past Yakutat, Cape Suckling. Waves generally 4 to 5 feet. On Tuesday, areas of snow continuing across, especially the inner Panhandle. Winds southeast 10 to 15 knots from Dixon Entrance up to Stevens Passage, but northerly winds Lynn Canal 10 knots, and waves generally a few feet in within the inner channels. And then for the outer coast, winds will have a west-southwest component, 10 to 15 knots, Sitka southward, but become southeast to east again as we round out toward Yakutat Bay and Cape Suckling. Strongest winds on Monday for the Gulf area will be lower Cook Inlet to northeast of Kodiak Island, west winds to 30 knots, waves 7 to 8 feet. We have winds easterly within Prince William Sound because there's this weak area of low pressure out through here. 15 knots, waves 3 feet, Prince William Sound. And west-southwest winds 25 to 30 knots, middle upper Cook Inland. By the time we get into Tuesday with that low working its way further east, the backside of the low winds are going to turn north to northwesterly. Still variable out there outside of Hinchinbrook Entrance, but look for northerly winds 10 knots within Prince William Sound and upper Cook Inlet, waves 2 to 3 feet there. And as we drop on down to lower Cook Inlet to the northeast side there of Kodiak Island, northwest to north winds at 25 to 30 knots. Across Kodiak Island on Monday, winds will be westerly 20 to 25 knots, waves 5 to 6 feet there within Shelikof Strait. Westerly winds become variable and then switch back around to the east 15 knots either side at Cold Bay and False Pass with waves there of 4 to 5 feet. On Tuesday, winds will be more northeast or northwesterly across Kodiak Island at 15 knots. Look for winds to be more northeasterly to easterly as we ride on down the length of the peninsula, and as much as 25 to 30 knots there, Cold Bay and False Pass. Highest waves will be just south there of False Pass, could be in excess of 10 feet. Now, for the Aleutians on Monday, the eastern and central Aleutians will have easterly winds of 30 to 35 knot gales. As we get out past Adak, areas of the lower Bering there just to the east and north of Kiska could see 40-knot east to northeasterly gales with waves of 15 to 17 feet. On Tuesday, a bit of a mixed bag. We have east-southeast winds 30 to as high as 35 knots here over the eastern Aleutians, flipping back to a west to even southwest and northwest wind, but anyways, around 25 knots. Atka past Adak, and then they go back southwesterly 25 to 30 knots as you get out toward Kiska and Shemya. Along the west coast, we're going to see now these winds going more of a northerly component. Initially here in Bristol Bay, west winds 15 knots, northwest winds 20 knots within Kuskokwim Bay. But once we get outside of there, the Norton Sound, lower Yukon coastline, we're looking at north winds 25 knots, waves 5 to 6 feet, and northeast winds 25 knots there at both St. Matthew, St. Paul with 7 to 8 foot waves. And that offshore flow will increase as northeasterly winds set up on Tuesday. We're looking at winds of 20 to 25 knots from Bristol Bay, Kuskokwim Bay, YK Deltas, all the way up into Norton Sound with waves 4 to 5 feet along the lower Yukon coast in that wider expanse of Norton Sound. Easterly gales of 35 to 40 knots from St. Matthew down to St. Paul with waves as high as 14 to 15 feet. And then as we get into the north through the Bering Strait, winds, we have 35 to 40 knot northerly gales on Monday with waves 8 to 11 feet within the open water. As we pull back up along the Chukchi Sea coast, winds become northwest 15 knots there, Wainwright up to Utqiagvik to Prudhoe Bay, and then more westerly 20 knots at Kaktovik. A lot of ice though in place here along the Beaufort Sea coastline. And then on Tuesday, the winds along the Beaufort Sea coast west-southwest as high as 25 to 30 knots there, Prudhoe Bay to Kaktovik. Westerly winds at 20 knots, Utqiagvik down to Wainwright, and then as we drop down through the lower Chukchi Sea, look for northeast to east winds 10 to 15 knots, and they'll become northeasterly through the Bering Strait on the west side of the Seward Peninsula and the north side of St. Lawrence Island. On Tuesday, look for northeasterly winds 20 knots with waves of 4 to 5 feet.